the majority of time we will be dealing with inbound, with profile optimization, with positioning, and making sure that we present ourselves as a credible experts, as credible companies as we are. We can also touch on sales navigator, advertising, whatever you want really in a Q&A section, but this is how our workflow is scheduled for today. And if we just look around and see some stats, this is why I mentioned before that LinkedIn is the last safe haven of organic reach in terms of social media, and I haven't been able to monetize TikTok just yet. This is what's going on LinkedIn right now. So there are 800 million users. That's hours. There are 75 million companies, and according to LinkedIn, 4 out of 5 people who are LinkedIn members are decision makers on the platform. And whenever we are thinking about startups, we got to make sure that not only CEOs and founders are being the decision makers, but if we are selling software as a service, if we have a consulting business or an agency even, there are other functions that could equally beneficially take the decision in our perspective if we are nurturing them nicely on LinkedIn. The other thing is true. If you are familiar with your website analytics, you will quickly discover that this data right here shows this amazing, exciting engagement. And what I'm saying here is that an average session on LinkedIn lasts for 7 minutes. Imagine this in e-commerce, for example, when the session is 30 seconds long. So tremendous engagement right there. And 7 pages are visited in average during each visit. And believe it or not, 70% of traffic on LinkedIn right now is mobile. So whenever we are thinking, we are strategizing how to make a content good, how to make our visuals look good, we should be considering mobile as well, because this is the go-to platform right now. So otherwise, we have another really exciting thing to review here. How often and how frequently and in what terms do people use LinkedIn? I was surprised to realize that a lot of LinkedIn users, here it says over 50%, use it even on a weekly basis or something like that. On a monthly basis, it's 40% here, right? So that's a lot of eyeballs. But due to the research, anywhere from 1 to 5% of LinkedIn users are creating the content. So if you are creating the content, you have this tremendous opportunity to really gain a lot of organic reach and to position yourself as a go-to expert as you are. And that's freaking phenomenal in terms of organic reach that you can do on the platform, even in the year of 2022. When we are looking about the general demographics and usage of LinkedIn, so the majority of population on LinkedIn are what I like to say job seekers. So they are younger professionals, and it's really was initially used as an online CV. But as you dig a little bit further and as you unlock, for example, that in 70% of INC 500 companies are using LinkedIn in order to make purchasing decision. And it's literally an inevitable purchasing path as you are discovering and Googling a person. It does make sense that this becomes your personal landing page. Instead of people visiting either you have a personal page or your company's page, people are browsing through LinkedIn because they're just used to it and they know that they will have more social proof and more, let's say, standardly organized information there, which is phenomenal. Before we stop this fascinating deep dive into the analytics that I kind of convinced Yair that it's important to share, let's take a look at the usage in the countries. So what is fascinating, and I'm happy to have somebody from Germany here, because in Germany there is Xing, but Xing only has 17 million of users. I mean, things are still interchangeable in Germany, but as you see, top markets, for example, the Netherlands is the most representative country per capita on LinkedIn. You have the UK, of course, the United States, and practically all the major markets that the majority of B2B and startups that I work with are targeting to. And whenever I'm working with some more exotic verticals, for example, like health tech or something like that, with the guys who are selling like softwares to hospitals and really niche things, maybe to clinical pharmaceuticals or something like that. There is always an argument, but are my decision makers on LinkedIn? So the best way how to check this is to literally search for them if they are active, or to ask them in sort of an email or a survey if this is a channel that they use. But increasingly, I mean, LinkedIn is not like TikTok. It doesn't have this rapid growth rates, this tremendous hockey stick curve, but it's growing steadily and persuasively. And there are more and more people who do appreciate its professionalism and its still strong organic reach. So that was a little bit of a warm up from our side. I mean, you can find a bunch of interesting stats because I'm a geek and I'm screenshotting and putting stats together all the time. But convincingly, if you will talk to your coworkers, these are a couple of stats that you can use, that LinkedIn is totally worth of attention. And Said here in the chat is saying that Xing is dying. I do agree that more and more activity is being projected on LinkedIn, but if you are working in more traditional sectors like engineering, like construction or something like that, it's still not a channel which is completely dead yet. So whoever is working in Germany, they should consider either this is appropriate as well. The same as with Kontakti in Russia. So just make sure that you know on what platforms your users are. And this is what I'm talking about when we are discussing LinkedIn, right? Everybody is all the time like having this FOMO, like this shiny new object obsession of what social media channel, what product-led growth, what account-based marketing should we be doing at the moment. But in reality, people rarely take care of the basics before we go into more advanced stuff. So as we mentioned before, the thing is when somebody Googles your name, LinkedIn will show up as one of top 3 hits, I guarantee you that. And instead of like maybe going to Instagram or Facebook, where we share pictures of our dogs, people will eventually end up on our LinkedIn. And let's be very specific with that. So I will screen share for a bit. No worries, I will zoom that real quick. So this is my traction personally. As you see, I have like 12K followers approximately, and I will show you through a couple of analytics that I'm seeing of just like how people are interacting with me. So you see that in the last 7 days, I had approximately this much views. So that was not in the 7 days, that was like until January, which is like in 90 days. But in last 7 days, it fall a little bit because I was sharing some weird posts, some very commercial posts, and that doesn't resonate, something like that. But if I look at analytics more thoroughly, and this is available if you have a premium profile on LinkedIn, I will soon realize from which companies did people interact with my content. And I see that like this is a company that I'm working here, but here I see Novartis, which is a really cool company. Then I have another like pharmaceutical generic, which is great, and like an e-commerce giant from a region, which is a really good signal to me, really. And from just like harvesting these insights that I have on LinkedIn, from just analyzing who's engaging with my posts for a second, I can find a bunch of business development opportunities, or just like make sure that people who am engaging with my content, I really can form awesome relationships with. Without boring you too much, I will just go through a couple of stats that I'm seeing here on my personal feed. So this, for example, was a podcast with a founder of Rebook, a really cool dude. He's like the coolest 80-year-old that I have ever spoken with. But you see here that in comparison with the size of my network, this one didn't perform so well. Why is that? Because LinkedIn algorithm is kind of really made in a way that we should be dwelling on LinkedIn, right? That we shouldn't be leaving the platform and going away from where the action is. And whenever I'm sharing an external link, this will be penalized in terms of reach, because algorithm is made as such that they literally want to keep people on the platform. That's the shortest way that I can describe it. So it was also published on the Easter Monday, which doesn't do a favor, and that's it. Then I have another post, a really interesting one. So this one is about cohorts, right? And in a retrospective, I see that I did a mistake here. So I was reporting instead of hooking. And what I mean with that is that I didn't exploit those two lines that I could be capturing readers' attention and putting the best insight that I have here. For example, maybe this one, mental models or something like that. But this was not the structure which was supposed to be optimal. And a lot of attendees of this cohort didn't really agree that they would be screenshot to participate in this program. So I had to screenshot slides and it doesn't look as attractive. You see that here the external link, 3,000, and here the not so optimized visuals and the lack of hook kind of got me a little bit of a lower impression. But I have better news for you. Whenever I'm polling, whenever I'm making sure that people are clicking, interacting with my content, which is importantly native to LinkedIn, you'll see that the reach is much higher. So it's literally 2 times reach, right? And this poll, for example, will catch a lot of more eyeballs in my network and elsewhere that I'm interested in. Moreover, then in the last week, I also published this post, which did pretty phenomenal. And I mean, it's a boring post. It's just a text. It doesn't have an attractive visual or something like that. But you see here that apparently like the subject resonated so nicely. And here is the gist of it. Here is the comment part. There were people, and there were me, of course, because I always like to feed my algorithm with additional comments that engaged into this awesome discussion. And this algorithm from LinkedIn initially picked it up if I generated like comments, real comments in the first 2 or 3 hours after I posted. It was projected to be a very valuable post, and it rewarded me with much higher reach, the reach that I'm actually like proud at, right? Because how else can I spend 15 minutes writing this and reach magically like 12K people? It doesn't happen like this. I mean, we'll see other example of posts which are way more viral, but I just wanted to take you for a couple of stats that I have from just like analyzing my performance in the previous week, thinking what was good, what was not, and how could I do better in future. And that's the entire logic that we have today. So it's about reading the algorithm. It's about learning from those mover and shakers that are into space, that are doing a tremendously good job into generating attention. Look at this post, for example. We'll have an entire mood board dedicated to one of the best performing posts in my network. And here, for example, you have 500 likes by just like viewing these metrics. Then you have this guy, which I cannot get enough of. I mean, I'm binging his videos and all my mentees are complaining that I'm displaying him too much, but he does this phenomenal job of just like posting these video snippets and these highly valuable posts, and he's generating, based on his testimonial, 60% of the business for just like doing that on LinkedIn, which is pretty much incredible. And before you just like step, oh, these are like very well established names. These are like Americans that we cannot really identify with. Let me show you another example. So this is a local girl from Slovenia. They have this company which is dealing with how to plantize, how to make sure that like offices are nicely decorated with the plants. So they are into planting business. And she published like a piece of portfolio of hers, how they decorated one office. And you see here that she had like 700 likes, and it was done in a language that has 2 million audience. I mean, it's impossible to get something like this if it's not valuable, if it's not like really, really, really neat. And this is what we're talking about here, right? So the strategy in 2022 that everybody is leaning forward is that we are not just doing this basic, not this basic, I mean, a lot of people are not even doing that. Of course, we have to make sure that this is like done neatly. But in addition to doing this awesome company pages of ours that have its own reach. I mean, it's a good reach right here. It's really, 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 really well represented, but that we are anchoring these messages, these main things that we want to communicate as a business, these main opportunities for personal profiles as well. And based on the experiments that we did with the companies that I work with, the reach itself is from 30 to 50 times higher if you are doing leveraging from your core messages through personal profiles on LinkedIn as well, in addition to also maybe user-generated content, if you're lucky enough to have it, like Miro. But yeah, like this is the winning equation in 2022, how to build like this key ambassadorship on the company, how to make sure that you have more people on board to share the message that you have. And here I'll just answer a couple of questions before we hit it off with the official part. So we have, okay, got around, but looking forward to recording. Yeah, maybe we will lucky and you will get it. It's much more fun if you participate otherwise. So how frequently do you post, Maja? There's a catch. If you are doing more than like 2 posts a day, and maybe it would be good time to shift to the mood board that I have prepared this weekend for you. So I will drag everybody towards me. And this is like a little research that I do quite frequently, once a quarter, of the bowlers and shakers in my industry. So I'm comparing, for example, here, how many followers do they have, right? So Elena Werner here, she's a head of growth at Amplitude right now. She used to do this at Miro. I would call her a dolphin because she's still under 10K of followers. But look at this. I mean, traction of these posts is freaking phenomenal. Everything that she published, like she doesn't publish frequently. She maybe does that like a couple of times a month, not even weekly. But the profound messages that she's sharing are so well accepted by the community that everything what she does kind of goes way beyond her initial reach. So that's interesting. Then we have like another example, and this is where I'm at. So as Chris Walker liked to illustrate it, and here, if you click on that, you have their LinkedIn profiles. I'm very obsessed with these people, and I definitely recommend you to follow them as well. So with Chris Walker, he has this amazing podcast, an amazing vidcast about B2B marketing. And I would consider him a whale because as you see here downwards, he has almost 100K followers. And what is interesting and really fascinating to me really is that Elena, for example, and this guy who has 100K followers, generate a little bit similar engagement, right? So he does a tremendous job in terms of content generation by publishing 1 to 3 times a week. So what I'm trying to avoid, and we'll see that on another example from John Cutler, which is also one of my favorite people. He's a product evangelist at Amplitude. And you'll see a frequency which is much, 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 much higher. That guy literally posts like 5 times a day. And why is this not optimal for the reach? Is because LinkedIn's algorithm first serves like your post to a sample of audience, right? And if it performs well in the first 2 or 3 hours, then it will be rewarded by much higher reach. But in contrast, if you are like sending people outside the platform or sharing posts without writing something or being the first person who comments on your post in the first hours or so, the algorithm will penalize you. And you'll see here very clearly how the same person by hyper posting can create this variety of results. Some of his results are stunning. For example, this one was a very good post, but some of the other posts are quite mediocre, right? They are not getting like nearly as good as a reach as other posts as a person have. For example, this one would be dreadful. And if I would be him, I would personally delete it when he shared this piece of information. So what I'm trying to say here is whenever you are posting more than like one time a day, you are in jeopardy that you would cannibalize your own reach by just like feeding algorithm to different sample sizes, and that could go wrong. So my ideal equation is to post approximately 3 times a week. For the companies that I work with, especially startups, I would say that 2 to 4 times a week is realistic subject. And there is another super interesting insights that happened during the corona actually. So weekends used to be dead on LinkedIn, but right now Saturday is one of the top days to post on LinkedIn. How fascinating is that? Not a lot of people post that time, so you can get a bunch of eyeballs to engage with your content, but do avoid like Monday and Friday. If you're posting on Monday or Friday, make sure that you are posting like lighter stuff there, more engaging stuff like snippets from your life, inspirational posts. For professional content, it's definitely Tuesday, Thursday, and the new reality Saturday, which I think is fascinating. Cool. We have another like couple of questions here, and you're probably already mad at me because we are not following the structure of the board, but we'll get there in no time, no worries. So we have a comment here regarding external links in our post. Do you think it's better to add an external link in the first comment? Oh, no. You should never be the first person to comment your own post. It's freaking poison and it's penalizing for the reach so much. It used to be a gist like 2 years ago, but it's no longer so. So if you want to share a link, if this is your business objective, do share a link unapologetically or get a couple of other comments before you actually share the link. So just know that posts with a link won't perform as good as posts who are purposefully designed to keep people on the platform and add value there as like mini blog posts or something like that. That was a good question, though. I very much appreciated it. Okay, so Said is asking here, I read that putting external links in the comments is the best way. No longer so, mate. And I have a study to prove it. I will share it later on. So that's it. But so the first to comment your post can be punished by the algorithm. That's it. That's it. You said it. It's correct. So then we have in Italy, there is a good profile of Nico Santin, startup founder. He uses a good strategy for LinkedIn by experiment lots of content. Yeah, maybe we should check him out a little bit. Let's see, who is he? Okay, top 104 under. Wow, that's an amazing profile. Very much appreciated. Let's check out his links. Okay, that's a little bit. Okay, that one went viral, and interestingly, it's an Italian language. So that was very nicely intended. Cool, yeah, that's a nice profile to follow. Thanks for sharing it. Cool, but right now we have to return to the board because Yair will never forgive me if I geek out too much on this presentation and keep you here by 10 p.m. or something like that. So, dear people, here is the first exercise that we will do together. Based on the discussion that we have just had, I would like to invite you to participate in this section of the board that I'm sharing here. And there aren't that many people on the Miro board, so maybe you will just enjoy watching us for a sec. Maybe more people can join in. Let's try to cover it up. But I would like to write you by double clicking on a post-it, of course, what are your main goals or LinkedIn? What are you inspired to achieve that? What would you like to do? So I would like to get new leads for business and position myself as a top dog in the industry. This is funny when you say it out loud. Thought leadership, leads for my SaaS business, increase brand value, cool, branding, cool, very nice. Help early stage founders to grow their startups, that's super cool. That's probably a year though. Connect with inspiring people, that's nice, that's nice. We're on a roll here. Cool, good warming up. I didn't do the icebreakers because I had a bunch of interesting stats for you, but I see that everybody's here is super participated and I appreciate that, super. Cool. I think we slowly finish this exercise. So there are a lot of goals that we can have on LinkedIn. Some of the companies that I work with use it for recruiting. Some of them use it for like grabbing the attention of investors, because investors are very, very, very interested in your LinkedIn profiles as well. So there are a bunch of different goals that we can achieve, but it's important to acknowledge them and harvest your strategy around them. So that's literally Yair, you are directly messaging me if you want to share it with everybody, like the link or something like that. Weaknesses.
No. I was just elaborating on my introduction, because you thought I said a weakness is something negative, but a weakness is a saying that if you have a weakness for somebody, it means that you love them. So I was saying you have love for startups.
I have a soft spot for them. That's true.
Exactly. That's what it meant.
Nicely done. Nicely done. Cool. And then another fun exercise that we will do together is like, what are the barriers? If we are inspired to achieve a certain goal on LinkedIn, what's stopping us from do that? So here's how we're going to play it. You can either just like hover to the post-it to the sticky that best describes like what is your, I wouldn't say an excuse, but the legitimate reason why we are not present on LinkedIn more. Or you can write it down if it is not stated here, but based on my experience and my polls, this would be the usual suspect. So I'm into the idea section probably, and I sometimes feel embarrassed if people are gonna like my post, and I'm very disappointed if they don't. So that's vanity. That's another list that it's kind of missing here. So that's good. That's good. We have time issue here. We have people writing, not sure if we'd work or be like, yeah, that's me. That's me. That's imposter. Maintaining what? Okay, cool. That's nice. Well done, guys. Very un-British. Yeah, I did a workshop today with people who work in health in the UK. It was special. It was special. But we got along great. It was not a problem. I'm not sure what to write about. Yeah, that's kind of a lack of idea section. That happens a lot. But luckily, we can do mood boards and a lot of other stuff to help to get an additional inspiration with, and that's literally it. So when we are talking about LinkedIn, first thing that we should have in mind is our ICP, ideal customer profile, aka persona. So here's an example that I did in my template, but you're welcome to use like other Miro's templates. There is a bunch of them to figure it out, the personas. And like with the companies that I work with, for example, if you have a software which caters like to HR companies, if you're into the productivity game, my personas would kind of be 3 or 4 different people, like, right? It would be the founder, it would be the head of HR, it would even be an office manager in some instances, or a CTO if he has a remote team. So whenever you are thinking about personas, we want to do this exercise live here today, but you're welcome to revisit it, but do revisit it critically. I mean, think about who are the decision makers in your purchasing process, and I can guarantee you there is more than one. So this becomes incredibly interesting and important because, as we discussed before, when we are doing LinkedIn for startups, it's for clients, it's for employees, it's for recruitment, it's for investors, it's for PR and like the ecosystem out there. There are different objectives, and naturally there are different stakeholders. So what I like to do, and I do this on a really frequent basis, is another like little secret sauce of mine. This is spying on the profiles that I very much like. And here you can see a couple of them that I literally adored. And we went before into this mood boarding section of mine. And we were checking out Elena before. Elena, I mean, she's a stunner. She's just like a role model. Like, who doesn't want to be like her? And I'm literally screenshotting their best performing posts. So the posts that got the majority of traction, and I'm trying to find patterns. I'm trying to find subjects that are popular, that are trending, that deliver consistently well for the profiles that I'm inspired to follow. And if I kind of take you throughout those profiles, you will see that knowledge sharing is a huge one in my world. You'll also see that a lot of people are actually using Miro for visualizations, for concepting their thoughts, and just like do these quick mock-ups. So you will see that a lot with thought leaders on LinkedIn. That's a really cool way how you can express yourself in a little bit of a more like, I wouldn't say ghetto design way, but you don't have to hire a designer and you don't have to wait for 14 days, if you know what I mean. So it's a really cool, empowering tool to just like help us visualize our thoughts. Of course, then we have this magnificent stud who has invested a lot into his production. And I mean, it's just a wonderful content stream. It's very enjoyable to watch, but it's a little bit more resource heavy. So he has to have a studio, he has to have a producer. So it's not maybe obtainable to everybody. Then this guy, like John Cutler, as you see here with his followers, for example, he's into 24K followers right now, and he's still not as huge as Chris, for example. But that guy has something amazing, and it is empathy towards his target persona. Half of the times, like half of his posts are about how to make sure that the product team and the developers and everybody doesn't follow some like weird nebulous concepts that doesn't make sense. He's trying to bring sanity back to the product. If we just like review his posts a little bit, you will see again, like design is very scrappy. I mean, it's not like they are not nicely designed posts in comparison with what we see with some of the other industry leaders. But still, they have this amazing engagement rate. And I'm trying, like by analyzing only 3 profiles, I'm seeing these patterns already. That's why this exercise is so freaking powerful. Last but not least, I will show you another stat. So another, what I like to call whale. So how strong is he? Oh, he's about 100K. That's phenomenal. So I like to call these people whales. And he has like really high frequency, 3 or 5 times a week, or even more sometimes. And again, I went into his activity, I screenshotted stuff that worked amazingly well from him, and I tried to learn what was it. So video is a very huge thing right now. He's also promoting his products and his community, and surprise, that always doesn't land as well as, for example, when he's doing these legendary marketing, creative, and brand posts. It's just what it is. But yeah, what I like about him is also that he's interviewing other people. So he's literally like piggybacking on somebody else's audience, and he's playing around with formats quite a lot. So sometimes he's sharing like snippets from Twitter. Then he does marketing meme as well. You will see this with Elena as well, if you will be deep diving into this mood board. And they're just like, he's so purposeful in his life on thinking as well. So he's into copy, he's into branding, he's into founders, brand building. So what's really important to focus here, to really stress here, is find your topics and be empathetic towards your audience. As I wrap this up, I think that this analysis took me like an hour or so to do. Here was my key takeaway. So I would be inclined to consider higher frequencies, because sometimes I'm literally not, I don't have time, I don't have ideas, I don't have inspiration, okay, like you. I mean, we are all people. Then like video production. Video production seems to be huge this year. So I am thinking when we are recording podcast or something like that, to repurpose those snippets to make more of the social media content as well. What is a little bit awkward for me, because I'm this 35-year-old woman and I'm a little bit conservative, I'm getting a little bit conservative, is also like using humor and using like those marketing memes. That was, I always saw LinkedIn as kind of a professional platform. And when I saw like one of my biggest role models, so Elena Verna, for doing stats like this, it's fun, but I wouldn't necessarily think of it as LinkedIn material. I would see it more of a Reddit material or Discord material in my world, but it's picking up. Numbers speak for themselves. So this is something that I would be inclined to trying as well. Then definitely, like we analyzed when we saw for my this week's posts, spend more time creating engaging copy and really cooks. If you can do something wrong, is not to optimize 2 lines of the copy that you have in the beginning. So that's the most mortal mistake that you can do. Otherwise, there are other things that I kind of deep dive from analyzing this. But again, in Miro, it's so easy to see. Human brain is actually wired to see patterns, right? Some people even see patterns from conspiracy theory of faking a moon landing. But we will use it for a good, literally use it to find what are some sort of common denominators for our best posts. So here we have a couple of questions / comments. So I finally met Yair from Miro. He's been me since 2017. Okay, cool. That's for you, Yair. Nice to meet you, Victor. What is copy? Copy is text. Yeah. Copy is literally like text. Copy is this bunch of text that we are writing. Thanks for explaining this.
Got one question though from Eva. She says, does the algorithm detect if you send the link out and others access the post through it? Does it detect if invite people to like, comment without clicking on the link? I'm not completely sure if I understand the question, but
Eva, do you just want to turn on your camera and ask this in person? It will be more interactive.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, gladly. So I wanted to ask earlier when we were discussing if about the link, when people click on the link and therefore the algorithm detects it, right? So I was doing that for our company. That's why I'm asking this question, because does the algorithm detect how to say traffic only if it's clickable directly through the post, or if I invite people, you know what I mean? If I invite people through an SMS, hey, I just posted a new post, go on LinkedIn, go on my profile, like it, or if they click on the link that I sent to them, is it the same way of detecting? Or
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. So a lot of times, like this is a friend of mine who works like at a very popular startup as well. And he just like asked me today to upvote his nomination here. He just sent the link directly. And like in terms of getting engagement onto these posts, it's beneficial. It's definitely beneficial to expand his network here. What would be problematic though, would be to have the same posts liked by a similar group of people. For example, your employees. If you create like a messenger chat or a LinkedIn chat or something like that, and you have like 5 people there, and then like only those 5 people interact with your content, you would literally cage yourself in terms of reach to just like their network. So it's important to expand, but LinkedIn algorithm is not as sophisticated as Product Hunt, for example, when you would be like literally penalized if you click direct link. So these things would still, in 2002 at least, benefits your reach for sure.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Cool. And then we have another comment from Sasha. I imagine you delete posts if they are not working well. How do you decide to delete or not? No, I'm not deleting it a lot. But here's the funny thing. So when we had a promo for this event, when Yair and I were sharing like these posts, I accidentally shared my own post. So what happened was that I first posted, let me show you how it was. So this was the initial post. To do the activity big dynamic a little bit. Boom, here you are. And we'll go and filter this to posts again. And we'll find how we promoted this workshop, for example. On my profile, it has like 5K views, even though it was an external link, which I found to be extremely good. And then Yair shared, for example, this post, right? And then I accidentally shared Yair posts, which was literally my posts, and it resulted, and I kid you not, in 1 hour, I only had 21 impressions. So this is the type of content that I don't want to have here if anybody is like swiping through my activity section. And this was kind of housekeeping. Otherwise, if I have a post, for example, this post I found to be incredibly intelligent, but the audience didn't agree. So I found that it was incredibly funny for me to create these metrics in Miro, but you see like reach-wise and engagement-wise that it didn't land that well. So I wouldn't consider deleting this. I'm not curating my posts. Otherwise, I would just like keep to this baby here when I took a picture with a bottle of alcohol and the reach was amazing. And that happens a lot on LinkedIn. If you have this mainstream reach, right? If you are kind of a big celebrity in your local ecosystem, or if people are just like drawn into your looks and feels of the brand. So the dumber the content is, sometimes the better will it land in terms of reach. But why is this a trap? To figure it out is because this post, for example, it doesn't like resonate in any leads. It's just like a dumb thing, an entertaining thing that I would do. So I would always balance it with things that are way more intelligent. And for example, this is a program for developers. And what I'm trying to do strategically is to balance from what I'm posting, like one post should be educational, one post I can give it a shot and sell. And the third post should be aspirational / inspirational. So to bring value by just like sharing some time management tips, managerial tips, leadership tips, lifestyle tips, if you want, if you're open to that, but that's of course not obligatory. So are emojis professional? Yes and no. So if you will like clutter your posts with more than 10 emojis or something like that, it might be penalized by the reach. But in terms of generating the attention of just like making sure that your post stands out here, as we are doing like this hovering over our news feeds, right? And we are of course immediately drawn to pictures, to some emojis, to some catchy one-liners, it would help at least a little bit. But if you are working in very serious verticals, such as healthcare, supply chain, or things that are way more traditional, I would advise you to be more conservative with emojis, because people there are not necessarily very open to this Gen Z style internet to communication. So then we have what about okay, that was completely Slavic for me to say, so too long didn't read. Posts have more text, pros, cons. So what we're trying to do here, Adam, is really to optimize for the first 2 lines. And for first 2 lines on the mobile phone, as the majority of traffic comes from the mobile phone, just here is really little. So you maybe got like 3 very, very, very little lines. And copy-wise, text-wise, you really got an optimize for that one. And Yair is already, do you want to question now? But couple can wait until the end. I love open conversation. I'm very open as a person. I think that people who are asking things should be immediately catered to their needs. Oh, and a friend of mine just had like a positioning workshop here in Miro. we're working a lot together on that. So I'm very happy about his achievement. He did this space. So yeah, that was lovely. So Miro is trending on my board again and again, but not to get too lost, because you already know that I'm a geek and this will going on forever and ever if we don't get back to the track. Let's move to another interesting session that we have here, and this will be the profile roasting. And yeah, this is probably a bug, because this is what I wanted to project. When I ask people to volunteer, nobody really shows up, but they did. I was so happy that some of you volunteered to have their profiles roasted, and we'll do just right now. So we have Eva, who was already with us, and here we'll just do a mini roast. So what Eva can improve on her profile. So similarly to like conversion rate optimization on the landing pages, what I like to do is 1, 2, 3, maybe 4, 5, what Eva is about. So customer success manager of Quantify, and by just like staring here, I don't know what Quantify does at the moment. So initially, in the first 3 or 5 seconds, you should really let me know of what the value of Quantify tool in my life could be. So that's the first thing that I'm seeing here. Otherwise, like profile is nicely structured, right? It doesn't have the featured section. So featured is a very important real estate that you should be using. People are immediately drawn to numbers and images. So if you're not using this featured section as a content creator, you should definitely consider that, because that draws a tremendous amount of attention. That's just like so cool. Moving back to your profile, sorry for this walk away. I will go to the activity section now, and I'll check out of how you're doing in terms of posting. So how regular are you? This is where you share the blog post, not a lot of engagement, but some is. So people are engaging, at least like from the company, which is cool. What I liked here is when you shared a post, you wrote a little bit of extra on it, because if you just shared it, the reach hypothetically would be worse than if you write your original thoughts to it and add a hashtag. So that was quite well done. Other than that, all right, you're sharing your founders' posts and your team's posts a lot, but I don't see like a lot of really original thoughts just yet. And here I would love to see, for example, your personal takeaway of what does it mean to measure this engagement of employees and case studies and whatnots, just like what the impact is as you are doing business development yourself. So I would very much like to see that. Other than that, here I like these badges, these trudge badges that are here. So you studied in Vienna, that's very good. You have a couple of endorsements already for German entrepreneurship and business English. I would probably reconsidering selecting those skills, and I'll show you how to do this in a nutshell. But here, like customer success management at Quantify, I would add a little bit of more description, and let's see maybe how we could do that. So with the description on the job post, you can add a bunch of text. So I like to add here like awesome brands, and I like to add like kind of wow stats. That's important to me. And when it comes to skills, so Eva, for example, like if you speak business German and business English, that's good when you are a student, but when it comes to skills, other things could shine out and should shine out as you are a professional. So here in the skills sections, you simply click edit. Cool, and you got this here. And if you are just like, here is my marketing skills, apparently it's very wide. I will hit reorder and I could move stuff here. Look, so if I don't want to be known for marketing anymore, which I do, I could revamp these things and only like 3 things are shown. And why is this important? Because things that are shown will get endorsements, and you can engineer that with your teammates, with your colleagues. That would be good. So that's something that adds social proof and credibility to your profile. Other than that, Eva, back to you. We'll have to click a lot of times back now. Yeah, I would consider like changing this picture a little bit, then adding like initially, what is the value, like what is quantified, what's the value that you are projecting. I would definitely want to increase my LinkedIn network here. So you can add up to 100 people a week, and not even in a week. If you try again in 4 days, it will go a little bit better. And the last tip that I leave you with is how I find like other interesting people that I can connect with. So allegedly, okay, Jim Hoffman, okay, he's a stud as well. I like him a lot. So initially I can click here, this bell icon. So I will get notified whenever Jim publish something, and it will appear here on my newsfeed. So whoever I'm following, for example, John that I'm following here, I will get a newsfeed. And if you're doing business development, it's a really, really, really magnificent feature to be using, because you want to be one of the first people that engage with a certain piece of content and just like to keep on the conversation going, right? So this is one way how I do this. And I don't know why this is loading forever and why it doesn't want to portray me, my friend Jim, which I kind of got very, 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 no, it's not him, it's Jim, come on. Here he is. So with Jim, for example, he's a very well-known growth marketeer from the US, and he has like a healthy amount of followers. I appreciate that. If I go to his activity and if I analyze his posts a little bit, so I'll just go to his posts and I find something which is popular and commented. And what I'm trying to say is like, not like, congratulations, you're the best person in this universe for sharing this, but something which is more profound, which has more value in terms of content. I could be identifying other interesting profiles to connect with, but just like reverse engineering who's interacting with the profiles that I'm following at the moment. Interestingly so, I could also be doing that by doing like hashtag, maybe like growth marketing. I'm very bad at typing today, maybe growth hacking, why not? And I will try to figure it out whether this hashtag is good for me to use in the content. So I'm observing how many followers that it has. And then if I narrow it down, if I sort it up based on recent, I can observe whether this is totally cluttered and if it is poor quality content, right? So here approximately there is quite a lot of content, but this is how I could initially attract a couple of additional eyeballs to my content if I want. But this for me is not like something that I would be extremely, extremely, extremely happy with. I would go and proceed with hashtags that are less cluttered. So LinkedIn is a little bit dumber than Google in terms of editorial tools, or even Facebook. So it doesn't have a native shadowing tool. You can do this via external platforms. And when it comes to hashtags, I mean, a lot of us like to use those really, really, really generic business hashtags like leadership, business. Then India is a popular one. But instead of doing that, it's really good to spend a little bit of time and explore a couple of hashtags which might be specific to your industry, because when you are creating content, this can still spin a couple of additional eyeballs to your content. So that's kind of another section that we will have soon, but that was it from my side. Eva, hope you enjoyed this roast and hope that was useful to you.
Thank you.
Sure. Cool. Then we have Victor Kenneth Barraza, Millennium Fellow and Millennium Campus Network software engineer at, oh, you get recruited a lot probably. Okay, cool. Let's check this out. So you have a couple of very, very, very good educational execution, which I like a lot. So trust shields are amazing here. It's really popping up. What I am a little bit not surprised, but it's just like something that I would consider editing is making sure that all the experience here are nicely connected with the logo, because when I'm deciding things, I'm literally trying to do these heuretics in my brain. So I'm searching for the elements that I know, whether brands or people, or I'm dealing with some sort of the numbers. So, and Yair is looking for Victor, no problem, no problem. So this is a medicine and innovator. So trust shilling here is cool. You could add a couple of websites here if you're doing like charity work or like some sort of internationally accomplished stuff. That would be amazing. And if you go to the posting activities, you have like certificates here, value stuff. Cool. Victor, if you will be looking this in retrospective, here is my single favorite example from HairTech. This is a British company called Huma, and each and every one of their employees does amazing job. So if you want to step up your content generation game, I would like to invite you to do a mood board like we showed before with Huma, with Philips, with maybe like a couple of other really strong health tech brands, and make sure that you source inspiration from them. So I have a couple of clients in that space, and I know the video is a huge one. Sharing stats is a cool one. People are even sharing their x-rays for God knows what reason, but these are kind of the trends that I identified in Q1 by being here. And then we'll do another one. So we'll do a roast of a company website, which I'm very happy to receive. And I'm not that much into the robotics, but it does ring a bell because I was working a lot in gaming and liquid cooling. So I think it will be cool. Software development from Warsaw with 400 followers. So the website, I mean, this doesn't speak to me, right? This is just like some vague background that could be used for servers or cybersecurity or whatnot. So this doesn't speak to me truly. We made a pledge. I didn't see like a single robot, but just like visiting your company page here, which I think it's a problem. I should be immediately like drawn into the smart cities or just like robotics or whatever is the most visual, the most compelling here. So that's it. And here we will like check it up a little bit before. So here we have coming soon. I don't know what to click. This is hidden. Like I would literally have to click see more to see the email. So wasted opportunity right here. Then we have like behind the scenes, which was rather popular. And it's branded with a social cause, which is really interesting. I haven't seen it before. But yeah, this one is done by the book. I mean, this one is done nicely. Then if we scroll further, we have a couple of other examples, and we are into the New Year's posts or something. Yeah, but I like this. This is a well done video. So definitely increase the frequency. Maybe just like the balance between communicating your product, your costs, and employer branding, super important, right? Is should be striked within a decent content calendar. But otherwise, I mean, it's a nice company page. I wouldn't necessarily be intrigued to follow it immediately, but I'm sure with some of the cool visuals or cool videos that could be way more photogenic, and otherwise it's decently done. I mean, there's a present, quite regular one, and that makes sense. Cool. If you have like any further questions, you're welcome to shoot them in the chat, as we are slowly evolving through the first chapter that we have here together. But yeah, I promise to roast a little bit, and we'll just comprehend here what we have learned. So here are a couple of really cool links that you can use. Here is like how to create social trust, how to build credibility and trust, how to create a profile in multiple languages. If you have this weird URL in the LinkedIn profile, so if there are like a lot of numbers here, you can edit your profile. That's displayed on a board as well. And just like when you are optimizing for your profile, really choose your role models and grow through their stuff that you like, stuff that you are comfortable with. Follow best examples. That's always the best good practice that I can share with you. So last but not least, I will drag you here again. So I'll bring everybody here. And I would like you to write on a post-it your personal commitment, how you can improve your LinkedIn profile. So what is the stuff that you can do maybe this week or this weekend in order to shine your best selves on LinkedIn? So I will write here, change the cover image, because I believe that that should be done rather quickly, and featured links. I think that's important. Or maybe like record a little video when you are on the mobile so people catch your vibe, way of speaking, just like the energy level. These are all cool ideas of the profiles that we can analyze. Let's see what we have here. Change background image, more regular content. Got it. Got it. Original content, native content. That's it. That's it. That's fabulous. Love it. Put creator mode on. Huh? Cool. Oh, I have a very cool resource linked here that you can view later. But here is a really awesome research of the LinkedIn algorithm. And he literally managed, this guy from the Netherlands, what does it mean to change your profile to the creators mode, right? So they analyze a bunch of posts all the time. And you can see this presentation here. You can download it. I couldn't share it on the Miro board with you because it's too large, but I linked it as a presentation here. So this is how the majority of us are learning about LinkedIn algorithm in addition to running our own experiments. So just for the sake of sharing this resource, which I think is super cool, I will share this again here for everybody to enjoy and to pay attention to, because this one is important. I mean, the guy shares this once a year and it's statistically valid, like he pays people to run this research. And that's one of the better estimation that we have, which is numerically proven on a large enough sample. Super cool. Okay. Yeah, we geeked up again. So the very last thing when it comes to profiles, I really like this variety of Miro's cover images. I think they are amazing and they are doing such a spectacular job in terms of branding on LinkedIn. So I just generated a couple of people that I am connected with on LinkedIn from Miro, and you see like this huge variety. And here I really gotta warn you a little bit that your head is covering the program section. So maybe that could be optimized a little bit, especially on the mobile. So that was the only kind of idea that I got here, but it's very good for your startups as well, for your personal profiles, to really create brand assets. I mean, it will take a couple of hours of designer's time, and maybe you can just like organize a photo shooting for your team members if you are in the office. But sometimes, you know, people who are not able to design themselves really feel stuck if they don't have these visual assets. So as marketing managers, as founders, as product managers, you can easily organize this in order to make this happen so that each and every one of your employees is nicely branded. And that's it. Cool. In terms of delivering value, so this is the content creation part, right? We have been very much into this already. And here, another activity, another short exercise that I would like to invite you to do would be, and let me bring everybody to me, would be to write how many times a week do you usually publish. So how would you self-evaluate, self-curate your current activity on LinkedIn? Let's write it down. So I think that I could publish like 4 times a week. not to disappear for a month. That would be a good objective for me. I would very much enjoy that. Cool. Let's see what other people do. So once to me, a couple of times a month, I could publish 3 a week, maybe. Cool. Oh, half a times a week. That's an original one. I never seen it before. That was cool. Okay, it's cool. So yeah, when it comes to what to publish and what not, I recommend, like, I cannot tell you enough how important it is to do these mood boards from your competitors, from your role models, from the companies that are just like you, because just like by analyzing what works well for them, as well as for company profiles and personal profiles, you will get the best out of LinkedIn activities that you can possibly do. And it's freaking phenomenal. It's literally a game changer. Then the next slide that I have for you would be what's the anatomy, what's the structure of a perfect LinkedIn post. So as we already mentioned, it starts out with a hook, right? With a really strong message right in the beginning so that it is displayable on mobile as well as on desktop, and it really harvests the attention. So that's the dwelling part of the algorithm, how people want to be intrigued into clicking more and be pursued. Then visual differentiation, meaning emojis, meaning like different hashtags that you are using. That's also visually different. You can use like bold and other type of writings on LinkedIn as well if you want, but I prefer to stick to the emojis. Here is a link shared, that's not a problem. And here is a really strong visual attached to the post, and it's performed real well. It's doing even better now. But here in terms of autonomy, again, huge hook in the beginning. Then you have visually differentiated main part in which you literally like deliver value. Then you can create more value in education, and then you include call to action, which is phenomenal. Otherwise, there is another link to the post that we can share in the chat as well, so that everybody's familiar with that. So that's the same concept, drawn a little bit differently. By tagging people, by using hashtags, by creating like certain length of text that people interact with. These are the best practices how to start creating your own original content, and it really rocks. So by discussing this part of how the anatomy of the perfect LinkedIn post should look like, and by reflecting, by thinking again, like how this mood board worked, what competitors are doing. Do you guys have any ideas? What could your next post on LinkedIn be? What is the next thing that you would like to write on LinkedIn? Again, I will bring everybody to me and we'll write this so I can have lessons learned from running a workshop for, I don't know, 50 companies. How do we do it? In Miro, that would be a nice one. Then I was really intrigued this morning by a friend of, but Elena Verna. So Elena published difference between product-led growth and enterprise growth, which was a huge hit. In only 20 hours, it generated 800 engagements, and I cannot even predict of how many impressions that is, maybe like 80,000, something like that, something down this line. So that would be amazing as well. Difference between product-led and enterprise-led growth. Fascinating, really. How our team do it with Tap My Back by not mentioning the brand. Why not? Why not? Double down on the brand. Once a week you can. It's not a problem. Speaking on an events announcement, yeah, that's great. That's a really safe bet. Video sweeper from our latest podcast. Totally cool. It's amazing. Love it. Then we have personal branding, how my journey begins. Yeah, documenting the journey is incredible. At least as you are starting up, later on as you are maturing, you'll have other stuff to share, maybe like connecting with other opinion makers. But yeah, to start with, documenting your journey is a really, really, really good decision. So we'll move forward to the outreach section. What I like to do is to create this target list. And what I mean by that, so by being very active and very diligent on LinkedIn, I know by now which companies are interacted with my content, and I also follow news in the regular world, so I know what my target list is. And without using Sales Navigator, really, I could literally go and find the decision makers in the companies that I want to work with. So we had an instance with one of the companies that I work with. It's a little bit more in the e-commerce space. So let's say that we have influencer marketing here. And influencer marketing, by the way, is huge in B2B as well. You would be surprised of how much money do we get for communities and sharing job posts. It's getting a little bit ridiculous. So we would be like searching this, for example, based on location in Germany, and I would be interested, maybe, yeah, let's just try this out to see if it's generating the results. Berlin. Okay, cool. And now I can go to companies, for example. This is without using Sales Navigator. This is just like organic. And you'll see that some of the results are like messed out right now. So I will again click on Germany. Cool. And then I can literally find a couple of potential business partners that I can pitch in for a meeting or for joint collaboration or whatever I have in mind. So this is very easy to do, totally manual. I mean, you might want to use a little bit of LinkedIn mailing, or even not. You can just like write this into the introduction that you are having. But if you discover a company, you simply go with people. I like to go with CEOs, especially with like smaller companies, and you see that they've got less than 100 followers or 1,000 followers here. So that shouldn't be that difficult. And I would pursue conversation with them. And what I mean by pursuing conversation, and that happens to me quite a lot. So just this morning, I got a message from this awesome guy who he's a colleague of Chris Walker. They work at the Refine Labs agency, and he just like sent me a connection request, but instead I went and investigated whether there is something that we can do together, which is totally, totally, totally cool. And people use this medicine against me as well. So here are a couple of screenshots of how people have been approaching me for business development, or how I am approaching them, how we book the meetings, how we very quickly, without necessarily having like 1,000 interactions, but get the ball rolling. Like, how do we make sure to talk about business on LinkedIn, just like as a mood board, a couple of examples of benefiting, of complimenting a podcast, of saying thank you for something, of referencing a common connection that we have. I mean, it can literally be whatever, but here's my best practice: just be genuine about it. If you are like bullshitting and sending like thousands of false automation out there, I mean, it will get into the long tail, but always remember 95% of the market is not ready to buy from you just yet, and we have to nurture them to get there. So that's a very important lesson that I learned in business development. I prefer to work inbound only. I am doing outbound with some of the companies that I'm working with, but for my personal brand, I mean, it's not in my nature. It's not good for my positioning. So whenever we are trying with, for example, software as a service brands or something like that, we are running campaigns, we are adding value with the content, and we are not shying away from direct messages as well, if that is needed in a certain case. But the most profound businesses, and especially like high value businesses, so the whales and the sharks and whatnots of your network are more likely to come to you from these channels as well. And we already talked about the bell feature, how to sign up for your prospects, for your people of interest updates by being alerted and always being like keen to implement their updates. I mean, there is similar feature in LinkedIn Sales Navigator when you can just like point them out and you can see their updates as well. But for the free version of LinkedIn, this bell feature really does the job similarly good if you are not like overusing it at the moment. And we won't go into this as a group, but I like to identify each quarter of who are my go-to connections, with whom would I like to connect professionally. Then I develop like this, I would like to say master plan, but it's not really such a lot of master plan. It's more as this idea who can connect me with somebody. If I have an idea how we can maybe collaborate with somebody, it's more of this organic stream of thinking. And then what is really important, and if you are not a founder yourself, a lot of times when we are discussing LinkedIn, people are writing, so what do you want from LinkedIn? And they say leads, 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 or just like sales results or something like that. But in reality, a lot of times, like 95% of people are not ready to buy it, right? So by just like consistently showing up, doing content marketing, being there, being the opinion leader of their choice, you will inevitably become a go-to for whenever they are being ready to buy. And what I'm saying is because like for 5% of the market, which is purchase ready, there is a red ocean, right? There are Microsofts and Oracles and whatnots of this world competing for the same lead. And if you are like running LinkedIn advertising, for example, you will literally go against those. But if you are being a little bit more subversive, a little bit more patient, a little bit more strategic in terms of your approach, you can still get a lot out of LinkedIn for relatively for small bucks, relatively for free, which is great. Cool. Let's accept some question here, and maybe I will sit down for a second and have a sip of water. So Yair, could you help me out by welcoming some questions?
Yes, for sure.
Awesome.
So I had some questions of my own. First of all,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Let's address them.
So first one is, as a startup, you have limited funds, right? Would you say that it's in a good investment to have a LinkedIn premium for your startup? Would you pay for LinkedIn?
Please forgive me, everybody that I know who works at LinkedIn, but I wouldn't say that it is necessarily to use those tools to have premium straight away. I think a lot of stuff could be done organically, and prior to that, I would even test the profile myself, whether my customers are on the platform and if they are responding to my marketing messages that I'm preparing for them. That would be due diligence before I pay a buck for any premium tool, just like based on my reality. And when it comes to like limited resources, it's not only like money, it's also about time, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm usually inviting people to take a commitment of 1 quarter, and usually a person from marketing or somebody who's a little, I wouldn't say more junior, but like not a founder themselves, does the company profile page. But yeah, just like to test the consistency, to test the followership growth, and to do this frequently. It's more of a legwork than anything else at the beginning. Okay,
that brings us also to the next question. Like, how many hours do you spend a week on LinkedIn?
2 to 3.
Only that?
Only that, I swear. I could share my calendar with you, but here is my workflow. So I usually craft my content once a week on Sundays from 11 to 12 a.m. when I'm looking forward to lunch. because lunch is a huge reward in my system. So I'm very motivated to finish in an hour to have a very nice lunch then. And yeah, I craft like 3 or 4 posts in that time. And then without using external scheduling tools, which you could, I mean, there is a little reach that you potentially sacrifice if you are scheduling, but I prefer, because I want to have time and bandwidth to react on the comments and to sometimes even trigger the engagement when I am posting in order to make sure that the posts are doing the best they can. I reserve maybe a half an hour or 15 minutes 3 times a week to make sure to go there. And if I want to grow my network a little bit more strategically, I would invest additional 20 minutes to do that. But again, like, I'm not a social media junkie. I use it very pragmatically, and sometimes, I mean, you can spend hours. It's like gaming, like it can be a rabbit hole, right? You can spend a lot of time there, but I really don't wanna. So I am notified on those opinion makers that I respect, that I have a lot of good connections with. I strategically observe, and I try to keep it on a very low scale, a very low level. Some friends of mine have everything like automated. They use a bunch of plugins for engagement, for adding connections or something like that. But that leaves you with a very large network and a very low engagement at the end. Is what it is. It always happens. And I don't know a single instance in my career, and that has been going on for 10 years now, that somebody would be hacking the system just like by purely relying on external automation.
Okay. All right. And then there was one more clarification question from Victor. When doing mood boards, what do we exactly analyze?
Cool. Very nice. So let's say that we are into big data space. It's like I'm figuring something out. So I would probably have better luck if I go with people. I'll go here and I'll narrow it down on people, and maybe I can filter it. Okay, Yusuf, Vodafone, that should be nice. Director of Big Data at. Okay, let's give it a shot.
Mañana qué es? Miércoles.
Okay, cool. So we'll find a couple of opinion makers here, and we'll make sure that they are active. So not everybody is active. So I'm clicking on their activity and narrowing down this to posts, and he's not active. So he posted like a year ago. So that one for me is a wasted bullet to analyze, but he still ranks fantastically well. So this, he should be more active. Let's give it a shot. Posts, cool. So he didn't receive any traction by posting a Medium. He did receive a little bit of traction with sharing the tools, so that should be good in his instance. Then he did a little certificate, LinkedIn that is, that's a not very exclusive certificate. That's something that anybody could have literally with a free trial. Then he's sharing like a bunch of posts. So what I would suggest to him is just like when he invests the time into writing this blog post, which is supposed to be awesome, right? In my world, he should be making at least 3 LinkedIn posts out of this. So each of those mental models that he shaped could be an individual blog post and lessons learned and maybe just like key takeaways or something like that. But in my world, this awesome piece of content would be repurposed. And I'm trying to find people like this who have like influence. I'm most successfully usually discovering them by figuring out who are the movers and shakers. And here she goes again. Here is Elena. So Elena Verna, it's already at 900. She's doing an amazing job here. And I would literally see if there is somebody who's interacting with her post. So I don't have him in my network right now, and I should consider maybe adding him. He's not like that popular, but it's how I found like people who I want to analyze. I sometimes even ask my customers which influencers and which opinion leaders are they following. But other than that, I am always searching for their activity, and I'm screenshotting what is about average, so what is really extremely good, and sometimes even what is not performing well for them. So I'm trying to get a little snippets of what was exceptionally well or exceptionally bad, and I'm trying to learn from it very strategically. This is how I do it.
Okay. So if I understand it well, with a mood board, you go find individuals or companies that are
Yes.
linked to the subject that you're interested in, then and they make snippets, you put it on a Miro board, for example, and then you have it next to each other, and then creativity of your brain is going to think about, hey, what should I post? What should I do next? Is that how it works?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not that difficult either, as you are just like putting together those snippets, those posts that were exceptional. You are finding a lot of patterns yourself, because this is how our brain is wired, right? So after I analyze like 3 or 4, or maybe sometimes even 10 examples, I kind of like to reflect on this and say, what is lesson learned? What do I want to learn from that? How do I want to push this forward? So that's interesting for me.
Cool. All right. And then I don't know if you want to do that, Maja, but there were quite some people still asking to get roasted. So I don't know if you want.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure.
Okay, let me
Cool.
share you the first one that asked.
My favorite part. I could do that for 2 hours straight, though.
Yeah. One is the company one, 7R Ventures. I'm going to share the link now again in the chat. There we go. This one.
Let's give it a shot. Let's see how that plays. Okay, this is nice. This is a nice design. I love the color. Del entrepreneur. Okay. Corporate venture builder especializado en nuevos negocios. Oh my God, my Spanish sucks. Cool. Okay, so you definitely need more followers and employees. Just like here, in terms of followers, if you have 1,817 employees. So I would push this profile to be like at least 3K in my world by producing the content. Otherwise, like, design is amazing. Design is something that I have never, ever seen before. But the engagement is probably not, but let's give it a shot. Let's check this out. So here, I don't see these pictures clearly. Whatever you are sharing a picture, remember the dwelling part of the algorithm, I want to click on it, right? So by sharing 2 pictures or more pictures, I would be doing this. I would be clicking, and that would be a signal to an algorithm that I want to engage with this content further. I've seen posts like this, which have like 30 or 40% of engagement, but just like sharing a couple of pictures and utilize the power of multiple pictures. It's very important. So I wouldn't necessarily take this as a decision myself. So here we are communicating in Spanish. I don't know if you have like English profile as well, or if you have to create some sort of content in English language as well, but if it goes for you, that's fine. Here, there is another note that I need to mention. So if you are tagging people and they are not engaging back with you, it's a bad thing. So here you probably tag the employees here, right? And they preferably engage because I see this going on. But if you're tagging like Yair or Chris Walker or something like that with people who are not directly connected with you, it would be sanctioned by the algorithm that people whom you tagged did not respond back. So pay attention to that and never, ever use more than 3 to 5 hashtags in a post, because using more than 9 would be a problem as well. That was an intermezzo. I didn't see that here, but just like to tell it. I'm a little bit skeptical about just like these design choices of not sharing multiple pictures, but like lessons learned. Do see Huma. Huma is a wonderful example how to have a clean but a very efficient design in terms of everything. So whenever I'm dealing with a company profile, I'm kind of having this measurement, this engagement that everybody from the company, or like 70% of them, should be engaging with LinkedIn content. And there is a measure that you can see in your company profile section called employee advocacy. That's a very important metric. And sometimes the companies that I work with, we even have an internal engagement poll. That's a very fancy word for creating a Slack or a Teams channel in which you share the most important updates, so everybody should engage and share with them. I don't see a lot of shares and I see 0 comments. Remember, share is worth 7 times as much as a like, and comment is worth maybe like 4 times as much as a like. So whenever you are thinking about increasing reach organically, like is a courtesy, comment is a favor, share is I will love you forever. So make sure that you give clear instructions when you are promoting those engagements in terms of that. In terms of sharing bit.ly links, I just think that it's a weird intermediate, because on LinkedIn, you could see the number of clicks. Apparently you see it in Google Analytics as well. But if you are doing your analytics on bit.ly, I guess that could be a legitimate choice. Why not? Why not? So it really depends, but it has to be reconsidered. I obviously don't understand Spanish good enough that I could comment on the content, but here, for example, I think that there is a healthy amount of activity. I also recognize that there is like a healthy amount of social proof and elements of the real life examples. So overall, I see this as a really good LinkedIn profile. But here's my challenge for you. I don't see any knowledge. Just like from browsing here, we have a lot of fun stuff, a lot of like company stuff, but I haven't seen like a proprietary Miro template, original thought like mental stamina, McKinley type of content, HBR style of content. So education part is a little bit lacking. If again, I might be mistaken because I'm not that proficient in Spanish. I think this is like all about us, and it has very little to do with what's the value that we are bringing to the audience. So if I go to this page, and I leave it. So I leave it with a thought, that's a very cool company, but would it be living better? Like, will I actually be a better person if I go ahead and engage with your content? I still think that it has room to grow in terms of education, and by definition, in your line of work, I'm sure you can get there. Like if it is venture capital and private equity, you have a bunch of success story to share, probably like what sort of pitch should a company prepare? Like what are the common mistakes when companies are pitching, how to find international investors? I mean, think about target persona. What do they want to know? And what's the best way to cater those insights based on this unique truth that you are having? Cool. We'll do maybe one more. Oh, that's a personal one. Oof, that's an interesting logo. So I like the trust seals. That's very important, but I'm a little bit, I just had like a physical reaction between this, because this for me is a stop sign. I mean, it can be a high five or something like that, but this for me is a logo that like doesn't really resonate with me on a grand level. But yeah, I mean, statistically, you did everything right. So you have representative cover photo. Maybe you could record a video for a mobile phone if you want. Tap by back, just like I'm a little bit taken aback by the logo, but if I see these trust seals here, that's a really, really, really strong trust builder, which I congratulate you for. It's a very good one. So you have a bunch of followers, that's good. You are portraying a couple of your most important posts here. They don't have like this tremendous traction based on the amount of followers that you have, but we'll dive within that in a sec. So based on the fact that you have 3,000 and something followers, I would be extremely curious of what is like the engagement rate. And here I would anticipate at least like 50 or something like that per individual staff, but it's not fair to judge yet because this was done 3 hours ago and it's nicely done. I mean, it's a produced video that's beautiful to see. Then you have something like that. You have shared a post by a company. Fun. Share your coworkers, shared. Yeah, more original content, more like content heavy stuff. How to receive feedback the right way, late from Mauma. I don't know who is that. So yeah, feedback receiving is really, really, really important. So in terms of copywriting, I would very much be looking forward to a hook here. So if you can kind of get this main takeaway here in order to make us click, otherwise this text that I'm sure that you put a lot of effort to would be hidden. And just like in terms of engagement, I would see, like, literally based on your traction and your feedback, anything that has like less than 50 or even like 20 followers, thing that I would reconsider in terms of content strategy. That would be my key takeaway. And apparently, like, this design stuff is not working that well. You are posting frequently though, but maybe, I don't know if your solution is local or international or something like that, because we can go and share, see if the situation is a little bit better on the company page. Once it will load, I think I'm abusing my computer a little bit today. I have a gazillion tabs again. Okay, cool. So we'll go to the post sections here as well, and we'll see if this specific content has better engagement. Okay, so here it had, that's good. Yeah, as a founder and as a leader of your company, I would just like develop a little bit different content strategy, right? A little bit different topics of what I am communicating proprietarily. So I would leave this profile, company profile, to your marketing managers. I would tell them that once a week they can publish a product, once a week they need to publish culture and content for recruiting, and once a week just like go crazy, whatever knowledge piece you can have, whatever like trust seal that you can have. This is up to you to choose. So I would set up a benchmark like that. And as a founder, I would sit down and I would be looking forward of what is my proprietary truth. So what books am I inclined to reading and reflecting on? What mental models, what lessons learned, what documenting my journey looks like. And I would create a different content strategy for your profile to resonate better with the audience. So that would be kind of it. I think that we are slowly running out of time. So the last section that I want to leave you with is just like this analytical part. So the measure part, what I'm trying to analyze as I'm doing this analysis on a weekly or monthly basis on my profile. So I have a special spreadsheet when I keep the results for my companies or the companies that I work with, and we are monitoring all the awesome stats that come from company pages. So that's a project that's it's a good practice to put it in the calendar each first in the month, because otherwise statistics might disappear. Native LinkedIn statistics does not last forever. You can only view it for a month or so. So it would be important to just take a snapshot of it as we go, as the month ends. It's not possible right now to see the results from January. It doesn't work like way. So if you are having marketing assistant and just like company profiles, make sure that they have a regular reminder that monthly report should be submitted to you. Otherwise, when I'm discussing my own results, I will go back to the feed again, and I'll try to make sure that I'm navigating this. So the first thing that I'm seeing is the reach. The reach is a painful metric to watch because sometimes you like something and other people don't get it, or you think that something is extremely intelligent and it doesn't land that well, or you publish it in the wrong hour or something like that. I know it's easier said than done, but don't worry too much about the reach. What is important is that content generates the right type of intention. And what I mean by that, what is something that is extremely interesting for me is to see posts that are a little bit more commercial. So here we were sending a cohort for approximately 3,000 euros with two colleagues of mine. And here, like whoever engaged with these posts, sorry, that was this one. Would be interesting for me to pursue. So we see that this one had 5,000K views, and let's try to figure it out who is interacting with this. So this is a technological company that I could be pursuing further. Then we have, okay, these are the usual Substack. This is from Celtra. That's another like awesome technology company. Then we have like Facebook and Pool, D-Labs, another awesome firm. So from just like seeing who engaged with this, I can find these healthy signals in my network to whom I should be outreaching and paying attention to, right? So this for me is a very, very, very valuable signal. And I am analyzing this thoroughly to all the posts that are a little bit more commercially oriented. For example, here for a client of mine, I shared a webinar which performed extremely well. And again, I could do the same thing. So I would be searching for companies which interacted with them, and I would be searching through like just distraction and who is not my friend and who's like an interesting lead to pursue. And in order to do that, what we were discussing before with Yair is extremely important. You should constantly but relevantly be growing your network. So what is already like offered here are a couple of people that I have been consulting with this month, and I am very, very, very intrigued towards putting them into my network. And the other thing, as we discussed on this call already, is to piggyback on somebody else's network and just like get the signaling of who is interacting with some content. And this is the measurement part. I mean, if you will be using the template, do that, use this for yourself. You don't need LinkedIn Premium, you don't need anything. You just need a decent amount of time and bandwidth to reflect about this and think about this strategically. Because at the end of the day, it's not about the amount of connections that you have. It's never about the reach, because if I post a picture of me playing with a puppy and with a cat, it is expected to go tremendously well, but it won't sell a dime, right? So we should be strategic, we should be purposeful when we are addressing this. And by saying that, I would very, very, very much like to invite you to do a little retrospective together. And here somebody who hides something, but no worries. I think that we have it covered here as a frame. So again, I will share this link, and this is your gift to me. I've been speaking for 2 hours now, so you will have to let me know what you like, what you didn't like, and how we can do better in future. If Yair will let me on again next year, we'll see how we will do it we do today. So jump into the retro section. Here you have a bunch of post-its. And just like write a couple of post-its here, like what you liked. Let me try to write this again. What you liked. So here are the good things. Here are your key takeaways. So what could be better, and maybe you can just leave committed. It doesn't make much sense. So we will delete this. Sorry, Yair. I'm dissing it. Appreciate that. And maybe we'll have like a little timer here. So maybe we will do this for like 3 minutes. And oh my God, notification started to bleep. That's why I'm always afraid to screen share on LinkedIn. That's awesome. And later on, I will make sure that we answer a couple of your questions. My preferred way is if you just show your face and we talk like human beings, but you can also write in the chat if this is not convenient for you right now, if you are eating dinner or something. Timing, we could go a bit faster. Okay, we could go a little bit faster, cool. Yeah, but it's so interesting. This workshop is otherwise timed to be 2 hours exactly, and it always ends up on this spectrum. Very nice. Thanks for doing this, guys. It means a lot. My Miro is limited to free boards. You should enter startup program. Maybe, or I don't know. Yeah, I can guide you through this process. Kept dropping. Oh shit, sorry. I just moved to a new house, so I hope it was not my internet. Oh, too nice, really. Cool, yeah, maybe just like a minute more and then we'll say goodbye very slowly and we'll have it done in a nutshell. Otherwise, the workflow that we did today is very similar to the type of training that I'm doing with companies, with teams that I am introducing the key opinion leadership strategies to. So usually we have a couple of those workshops for the folks. So to just like get everybody on the same page, and then we are pursuing with leaders how they should write content, with whom they should connect. It was really intense workshop in terms of time load, but my very last would be if you are into algorithms and all the quirks that I am into, really like this study of an algorithm, it'll take you 15 minutes to read maybe, but it will give you so much more clarity on what we are doing today. So thank you for your gift of feedback. That's always amazing. Very much enjoyed it. 3, 2, 1, done. Boom. Appreciate it.